Hello and welcome. You are listening to Pint Size Therapy, where we explore all things related to mental health healing, personal growth and development, emotional wellness, and the human experience in pint-sized bites. I am your host, Dr. Aletha Clark, a licensed psychotherapist, certified hypnotherapist, and master addiction counselor, and I am happy to have you here with me today as you embark on your mental wellness journey. While I appreciate you tuning in, don't forget this podcast is informational only and is not a substitute for seeking out your own mental health counseling with a licensed professional. So join me as we jump into today's episode. Hello and welcome back. Thank you for joining me today. I want to start by sharing a moment that really sparked today's conversation. The other day, I was chatting with my best friend, and she said something that was simple but profound. I've decided I'm going to consciously choose to engage in things that bring me joy and opting out of things that don't. She told me she was intentionally engaging in the things that bring her happiness and fulfillment. Whether that was listening to her favorite music, spending time with people who lift her up, saying yes to volunteering for projects that align with her values, or taking a quiet moment to read or relax. That sentence stuck with me, choosing joy. It got me thinking, how often do we actually pause and choose joy in our lives? So often we're moving through the world on autopilot, simply surviving, just checking off boxes, handling responsibilities, and waiting for the next crisis to manage. And in the middle of all that, joy can slip through the cracks. But what if we could shift from merely surviving to truly thriving? And what if choosing joy on purpose was one of the keys? That's what we're going to explore in today's episode. The power of choosing joy. What gets in the way, the science of positive psychology, and practical ways you can cultivate more joy in your daily life. So let's start here. The difference between surviving and thriving. Surviving is all about the bare minimum. It's waking up. It's going through the motions. It's doing what has to be done just to get through the day. It's when life feels like a checklist. It's the task. It's the deadlines. It's the responsibilities. It's the rinse and repeat, doing it all over, day after day, moment after moment. But thriving, on the other hand, is about feeling alive. It's not just about the absence of problems, but the presence of purpose, connection, vitality. Thriving is when you feel engaged and energized, and like you're living, not just existing. Unfortunately, as you know, life and priorities often push us into survival mode. Between work, family, bills, caregiving, health challenges, and just the noise of everyday life, joy can feel like an afterthought. It almost feels indulgent, like something you can only get to once everything else is handled. But the problem here is that everything else never really gets handled, does it? There's always another load of laundry, another email, another responsibility. So joy ends up on the back burner, and sometimes it stays there for years. This is where I want to bring in the field of positive psychology. Traditional psychology often focuses on what's wrong. It talks about the diagnosis, the treating, the reducing symptoms. On the flip side, positive psychology doesn't ignore those things, but it asks a different question. What makes life worth living? It's the scientific study of well-being, happiness, and human flourishing. Positive psychologists want to understand what helps people not just survive, but thrive. What helps us build resilience, meaning, a zest for life, and yes, joy. There are several key components and concepts that positive psychology uses. The first concept is well-being. It's a state of feeling healthy, balanced, and fulfilled. Well-being is more than just feeling good. In positive psychology, it's often defined using the term PERMA, the model by Martin Seligman. And PERMA stands for positive emotions, meaning feeling joy, gratitude, hope. Engagement, being fully absorbed in activities that matter to you. Relationships, having supportive, meaningful connections with others. Meaning, feeling that your life has purpose beyond yourself. And accomplishment, pursuing goals and celebrating progress. Well-being is about the balance across all these areas. When you have well-being, you feel grounded, you feel purposeful, and capable of handling life's challenges. The next concept from positive psychology is flourishing. It is living within your strengths, feeling connected, and growing in the positive direction. Flourishing goes well beyond well-being. It's the difference between just getting by and living fully. Flourishing is you're using your strengths and talents in meaningful ways. You're feeling connected to others and supported by your community. You're not just free of illness, but actively growing and thriving. Psychologist Corey Keyes describes flourishing as the presence of positive emotions, engagement, and meaning, all working together to create a sense of vibrancy in your life. The concept of positive emotions is joy, gratitude, hope, and love. Emotions that expand our thinking and help us see possibilities. Positive emotions aren't just nice feelings. Barbara Fredrickson used the broaden and build theory, and this shows that positive emotions actually expand the way we think and act. She said that joy sparks creativity and play. Gratitude builds stronger relationships. Hope pushes us to imagine better futures. And love deepens bonds and creates security. Over time, these emotions build resources for us. They build things such as emotional resiliency, healthier coping, and even stronger physical health. The fourth concept of positive psychology is optimism. It's expecting good things in the future and feeling empowered to influence outcomes. Optimism isn't about ignoring problems or pretending everything is perfect. It's just a mindset that says, yes, challenges do exist, but I believe good outcomes are possible and I have some influence over them. Research shows optimism is linked to better physical health. It lowers risk of heart disease. It builds stronger immune systems. Greater perseverance in the face of obstacles. It increased satisfaction in relationships and work. So optimists don't deny reality, they face it with hope and agency. And the final concept of positive psychology is positive experiences. It's those everyday moments, small or big, that remind us that life is more than just a to-do list. Positive experiences can be big. It can be a wedding, a promotion, a dream vacation. But they can also be tiny, everyday moments that make life richer. It can just be taking that moment to savor your morning coffee, laughing with a friend, watching a sunset, or even hearing your favorite song that you sing loud in your car or in the shower. When we intentionally notice and savor these experiences, our brains learn to pay attention to what's good. That's powerful because the human brain naturally leans towards a negativity bias. Focusing on positive experiences helps us rewire that balance towards joy. And research shows that seeking out and savoring these moments has both psychological and physical benefits. Together, These concepts form a framework for choosing joy on purpose. They remind us that joy isn't an accident. It's something we can cultivate through habits, through our attitudes, and even awareness. So let's just talk quickly about the benefits of choosing joy for a moment. We know that on the psychological side, joy and positive emotions help lower stress. They help to reduce anxiety and build resilience. They increase creativity, improve problem solving, and even enhance relationships because when we're joyful, we show up differently with others. On the physical side, joy has been linked to lower blood pressure, stronger immune systems, better sleep, and even longer lifespans. Your body literally responds when you allow yourself to feel good. It's not just about feeling happy in the moment, but joy has ripple effects that touch every part of our health and our well-being. Now, I want to circle back to something important my friend said. She didn't just tell me I've decided to consciously choose to engage in things that bring me joy. She added, and I'm opting out of things that don't. That second part is just as powerful. Choosing joy isn't only about adding more positivity in our lives, it's also about making the intentional choice to step back from what steals our energy, our peace, and our joy. Think about it. You can fill your life with gratitude lists, self-care practices, and joyful activities, but if you're constantly surrounded by toxic relationships, draining obligations, or environments that suffocate you, it's like trying to pour water into a cup with a hole in the bottom. You'll never seem and feel full. So what does opting out look like? It might mean setting boundaries with people who constantly drain you. It might mean saying no to commitments that don't align with your values, your goals, or even your purpose. It could be reducing your exposure to negative news, social media, even people that leave you feeling anxious or depleted. Or even giving yourself permission to walk away from routines or habits that no longer serve you. Opting out doesn't have to be dramatic. Sometimes it's as simple as unsubscribing from an email list, turning off notifications, or choosing not to engage in gossip. Other times it's bigger. It's reevaluating a job, a friendship, or even a lifestyle that isn't bringing you closer to joy or flourishing. And here's the thing. When you remove what drains you, you create space for what nourishes you. You actually give joy room to grow. So before we discuss some practical ways to choose joy, I'd love to invite you to take a moment right now and reflect. Let's reflect on what actually brings you joy. When was the last time you truly felt it? What has prevented you from being able to choose moments of joy daily? What's one thing that you can say no to this week? And what's one small shift you can make to opt out of what doesn't bring you joy? Whatever it is, commit to and give yourself permission to take at least 15 minutes a day to engage in something that brings you joy. So now let's get practical. How do we actually choose joy in the middle of busy, messy, and unpredictable lives? Positive psychology actually gives us some powerful tools. So here are a few to kind of consider. We can engage in gratitude practices. It's something as simple as writing down 3 things you're grateful for each day. It can shift your focus from what's wrong to what's right. Gratitude expands joy. Another activity is called flow. This is when you're so engaged in something that you lose track of time. Flow looks like fueling joy. It's like engaging in painting, gardening, playing music, cooking, and exercising. Whatever puts you in the zone, that is flow. Positive self-talk is another practical way to choose joy. The way you speak to yourself matters. If your inner dialogue is harsh and critical, joy gets crowded out. Practice speaking to yourself the way you would to your closest friend. Here's another idea. Schedule joy breaks. Literally schedule small amounts of joy into your day. Put it in your calendar. Taking a walk outside. Engaging in a call with someone you love. Taking a moment to savor your favorite coffee. Listening to a song that makes you smile. When joy is on the calendar, it's less likely to get lost. Savoring. Slow down enough to notice. That first sip of coffee, that sound of laughter, the beauty of a sunset. Take an extra 30 seconds to really soak things in. That pause is where joy actually grows. Take a moment to notice. Open your senses and see what's around you and take it in. And then acts of kindness. Doing something for someone else, big or small, actually boosts your own joy as much as theirs. So think about smiling to everybody you see, waving or saying hello. Do something nice. So let's kind of put it all together. So here's the heart of today's episode. Joy doesn't just happen. Yes, there are spontaneous moments of delight, but real lasting joy often comes from making an intentional choice. From deciding, as my best friend said, I'm going to consciously choose joy. And when we do that, we move from surviving to thriving. We align with what positive psychology has been telling us for decades, that joy, gratitude, optimism, and connection are not luxuries. They are actually necessities for a full, flourishing life. So as we wrap up, I want to remind you, thriving doesn't mean life is perfect. It means you're living with intention. You're choosing joy where you can and creating moments that remind you that life is more than just a checklist. So today, I challenge you, choose joy. Not someday, but today. I thank you so much for joining me for this episode. If you found it helpful, I'd love for you to share it with somebody, a friend, a loved one, who you might need to remind to invite more joy into their life. And maybe even choose to engage in joyful moments together. Until next time, take care of yourself. Embrace thriving and not just surviving. And don't forget to choose joy. As always, thank you for joining me today on Pint-Sized Therapy. If you found this conversation meaningful, I invite you to leave me a comment, like, subscribe, and share with your family and friends. Come visit my website at pintsizedtherapy.com and my Etsy shop at pintsizedtherapy.etsy.com, where you will find resources to accompany our various discussions and encourage you to continue your wellness journey. Once again, I am Dr. Aletha Clark. Until next time, remember to protect your peace and take care of your mental health.